Let's be honest, it's a lot of work. And so my guest for today, I did a brief introduction. I'm just going to go straight into it, and I'm going to start with Pastor Bridget, because usually I like hearing the stories about the men from the woman, because the men at times might forget some things. So Pastor Bridget, how did you meet Pastor Idokolo? Or Pastor Norua? Let me be calling him Pastor Norua now.
We met in church. That was in Port Harcourt. We were supposed to be part of a youth fellowship in church then, and he was one of the part of the youth fellowship of the church. I was in the church. I was a worker, but I wasn't really active in the youth fellowship. And so one day he came and was trying to find out why I wasn't active in the youth fellowship. And I said I was already involved in Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship, and I would prefer to remain there. So he tried to persuade me to join them and all that. So that was where the initial contact took place there. And one thing led to the other. And then I was running a program. Then I remember I was running a program in Uniport. I was running an MBA program, and I was having issues with calculus then. And he said that math, and he said, that he will teach me, although he never taught me, but that was what the trick. That was the trick that he used, to gain access. So that's how we started, and we were married about 18 months later.
Oh, wow. All right, thank you. Okay, there is this noise that is coming from your background, so we're struggling. Okay. I personally am struggling to hear you.
Okay, just hold on.
Okay.
Fun. Okay. It's gone now.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. When you were telling that story, there was something that I remembered. I remembered how he pulled me from reception. I was in welcome, and then he pulled me to ushering department. And I stopped wearing my cocoa cap. But I used to wear high heels in welcome. And then he pulled me to ushering. And I could not wear my heels anymore. I'm just on the lifestyle notes. All right. So, Pastor Norua, I want to hear your own perspective on how you met.
Yeah, I think she's captured the essence of it, really. Maybe the only portion I want to add, I want to be careful not to be too spiritual, but that's part of my story. I remember that, that was in Port Harcourt. Before I left Lagos for Port Harcourt, I had, been asking the Lord, so, I want to settle down, and God said to me, no, a woman is supposed to help you to fulfill my purpose for your life. So the first thing you're supposed to do is to ask me, what is my purpose for you? And I remember that was ongoing. I got transferred to Port Harcourt, started fellowshipping in that church. I met her, like she said. And I remember, one of those days we were in church having a prayer meeting. And I was saying, Lord, now I know my purpose. I'm ready. Can I have my wife? It was a Sunday morning. And, my head was bowed praying. As I raised my head up, those days, I just saw her younger brother on Gideon. Those days, when they come to church, about 11 of them, they come in according to age. So she's the first to come out, and others will line up. So as I raised up my head, I just heard, that is your wife.
Wow.
So, every other thing that happened then was just a confirmation of that. That is your wife. Yes. I didn't even know her then. It was after all of that I began to, what she's saying now. So that's where it started from.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. So I'm guessing that's the Gideon you just mentioned now.
Yes, my brother-in-law.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. But before we continue, I just hope that the singles that are on here, you're taking notes. That at times, actually finding your purpose can help you find other areas of your life. Discovering purpose is another topic on its own entirely. I just needed to chip that out there for the singles to take notes. Okay, so there is this misconception, or would I say this belief, that once you are a pastor, everything is perfect. Like, I mean, you give counsels, you advise people, and so you don't have issues. Everything is just, you as in, you are closer to God than everybody now. So, no challenges and all that. But I personally know that statistically, it's been said that the first 5 years of marriage is the most challenging of them all. So, Pastor Bridget, I want to ask you, the first 5 years of your marriage, what was it like?
Yeah, it was will I say it was a learning curve, because two people who just know a little about each other, coming to live together, and we're both young, and it took a while. It wasn't as if it wasn't a rocky time, but we had challenges, definitely. Our backgrounds were different. In my house, we don't say, for example now, in our house, we weren't brought up to say, I'm sorry. If you do something wrong, you are scolded, and then they bone for you for a few days. Then so coming into marriage and then finding out that you don't just do something wrong and then you have a contrite face, or behave as if you're contrite, and you expect the person to take it as I'm sorry. That you actually have to say the words I'm sorry. That was also an issue. That was one issue for me. So I had to learn learn some things. And he also. So we have to, work it out. It's the first 5 years is the time to, if you really want to work on your marriage, then you find, look at the differences and find ways to compromise. There has to be the things that that you need. Like, I'm sorry is a good thing, so I had to learn it.
Yeah.
So you have to, if there are things that you need to learn, you learn. So that was how we worked this out. Learning things that we need to learn to make each other more comfortable. So it was a time to learn and adjust. Yes, we're enjoying ourselves as a couple, but those times when we had those issues, we had to face it and deal with it, and that was how we were able to navigate the 5 years.
All right, thank you so much, Pastor Naroa. Let me ask you the same thing. Like, what was your most challenging years? The challenges you faced early on in your marriage, and how were you able to overcome them?
I think it's like I knew that this was it, all right, and that there was no way out. So sometimes having that settled, that this is my destiny, this is my portion, this is my journey, and I want to succeed. There was no backing out. There was no, like they say, there was no bridge to even say burn or break the bridges. There was nothing. So this had to work. So at every interval, every time there was a challenge, we just knew that we had to sort it out. All right. One, because of each other, but even more importantly, because of the Lord. I think for us, something that has helped us a lot is that God is very visible to us. He's very real to us. So he's not far away. It's like it's like having him in the other room. So when there's an issue, we go there and we report ourselves. It's like having an elderly person who is neutral, who you can trust, living with you. All right. So anytime there's an issue, just go there and say, "Mom, you see what my wife did," and she to say, "See what my husband," and the person will give you this. So I think that has helped us. I like to say that marriage, it's an open declaration that you cannot do it alone. All right, that's what marriage is. So I'm not trying to prove a point to my wife. You know what I mean? She's important to me. I need her. I can't run the race alone. So the sooner you get with it, the better.
Yeah. All right, sir. Thank you both so much for that. I had some thoughts while you were talking, because there are new couples. There was someone I used to know. I actually need to reach out to her. that she got married to a pastor, and she was overwhelmed. You know, it was because I think when they were cutting, she didn't know her husband was going to end up being a pastor. And so it was a real struggle for her to start living that life of, I know it's a kind of, I don't know how to put this into words. I'm directing this to Pastor Bridget, because it's like a kind of pressure on you as a woman, especially if you're not ready for it. So I want you to please talk to this young lady, because she's been having, it was a struggle for her. And if you ask her what is her own challenges, that's what she would tell you is a major challenge. So what advice would you give her?
I would say, first of all, I wish I could speak to the husband himself, because, you know, for us, I also was not, yes, I knew he was a minister and all that, but I wasn't ready to take on that role. Yes, pastor's wife, I'm the pastor's wife, but I wasn't ready to take on that leadership role.
Yeah.
You get, and, you know, ministering, doing all those things. I just wasn't ready. And it took some years, many years, you know, before I was able to, you know, fit into that role. But my husband wasn't, you know, he didn't pressure me. You know, I wasn't under pressure. You know, I was there. It's not as if I was a member of the church. I was in fire and all that. But that pastor's wife, you know, listen, I just wasn't ready for it. You know, so it took a while, you know, and I'm happy that he didn't pressure me. So she shouldn't just be yourself. And what you are doing, thank God she's a child of God. Continue to be a child of God. Continue to love God, you know, and just be yourself. Don't feel pressure. I hope our husband is not pressured, but don't feel pressure to be the pastor's wife. Even up to now, I know some pastor's wives who are doing all sorts, but I decided that what I can do is what I will do as God enables me. You know, there's no model pastor's wife. The model pastor's wife is whatever God has given you as your own model, the way you're supposed to run it, then you run it that way. There's nothing in the Bible that says this is how a pastor's wife must be. So let her not be under pressure. And if she's not ready, she should give it time and keep loving God. And as time goes on, you know, she will fit in. But if you are trying to, then it will be overwhelming. You know, you don't know, you know, criticisms and all that, and you just find that, what am I doing? So there's no point. Just be yourself. Be the girl that she is. Love the Lord and keep growing gradually. For some people, it comes so easily. Some people, even before they are married, they already know I want to be a pastor's wife. Everybody, but not everybody is interested in that. Some people just want to live their life normally. So just continue, and before you know it, gradually you begin to, you know, she'll begin to grow into that role. It's not a one-day thing. It's not.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. So, Pastor Dokola, I want you to maybe talk to the guys. It might not just be this couple that I know. It could be anyone that will stumble on this, and you know, it might just help them. So, if you're talking to a young pastor that just got married to someone that's not prepared for it, now in Pastor Bridget's case, she was lucky that you were not pressurizing her. But we know of the fact that there are some people that will feel as if they're not getting that support that they need from their wife. And to them, it's not supporting my vision, it's not supporting my dreams, you know. So if you're going to talk to guys that are in that situation, what would you tell them?
I think the first thing I'll say is that, I mean, before we got married, I remember saying to her that today I'm just a youth leader, but that I know that there's a call of God upon my life, and that call will, you know, require sacrifice from us. Okay? I mean, when we met, I was working for a multinational, you know, London today, Milan tomorrow. Okay? But I then said to her that be ready to drop all of this and we move to Kafanchan. I don't even know where Kafanchan, but I used to just say Kafanchan, you know.
Kafanchan should be after Jos, I think.
Yes.
Should be close to my
Kaduna State, I think. You know, so I used to say to her that, listen, if God says I should leave this whole thing and go to Kafanchan, that's it. So, I mean, when somebody says that, you know, she's married to somebody and the guy just suddenly, you know, becomes a pastor, I think something is wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, marriage is not a joke. So anybody you are getting married to, you should, you know, you should have an idea of who the person is. And it's not only about ministry. marry somebody and then the guy hooks up on money and says, I'm going to join the army. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, in the time of courtship, something should have taken you to that place where you would say, hey, listen, even though I'm a banker now, my blood is soldier, I'm going to join the army eventually. So you have to then decide, you know. So I mean, so as a starting point, I actually know somebody now whose wife has refused to follow him to church.
Yeah, I was
actually
thinking about a couple that I know that the wife refused to move to the mission field with the husband because it's strong.
In this case, the lady said, you told me in plain English you had no business, you are not going to become a pastor because I didn't have good experience with pastors growing up. So to now wake up in the morning and spring a surprise on me, you're on your own. So, you know, but having said that, I mean, you are in it now, okay? If truly the man is called of God, because not everybody who finds himself in a pastoral role is called. You know, so it's a bit, you know, this conversation is not a straightforward one. So let us assume that this fellow is called of God, he's in ministry. For whatever reason, he didn't prepare you for it. So you need to find out for yourself and say, is this God? You know, I mean, there's the man, the wife. So first of all, you know, the man must be able to. If the man says, you know, the wife didn't know, but so here you are, I'm the man. My wife doesn't agree or is not in support. That man, you know, first of all, he has to be authentic. Okay, you know, you must live the sermon that you are going to preach. It is always easier for a woman to submit to a man who is authentic. You don't go to the pulpit and preach a message on love, and when you get back home, you live the opposite of your sermon. You see, if that man is authentic, if that man is truly living out the Christian life, it will be easier for the wife, because what does the woman want in a man? Who doesn't want to marry a decent man? Who doesn't want to marry a man that will respect you? Who doesn't want to marry a man that will take care of you? I don't know if you're getting it. Now, that is what Christianity is supposed to, you know, that's what a pastor is supposed to be. You're supposed to love your wife, take care of her, sacrifice for her. You know what I mean? Go out of your way for her. And so if you are all of that, I mean, for God's sake, she's like, you know what? If that's pastoral work, go deeper. You know? So once you take that off the table, and then, of course, if you are loving her, you won't pressure her. If you are loving her, you will understand her. If you are loving her, you won't compare her with others. You know what I mean? You won't say, look at your mates, you know, they are doing X, Y, Z, but not you. If you are loving her, you will defend her. If anybody wants to harass your wife, you will stand up and say, my friend, don't go there. You know, you can do anything you like with me, but don't even go near my wife.
My wife.
I'm the one as your pastor. She happens to be my wife, not your wife or your pastor. You get it? So, you know, I think that's what I would say to that man. You know, be a good man, love your wife. In fact, you will so love her that she will say to you, darling, go further into God, because whatever you are doing with him is rubbing off well on you.
It won't be a struggle. It won't be a chore. You know,
it's when the pastoral work is not benefiting to the woman. That's when she you know, she doesn't like it.
True. All right, thank you so much, sir. Someone said you won't die young, sir. God bless you. Oh, all right. Trinity, thank you so much. Okay, so Pastor Doko, I'm still going to come back to you, because as a pastor, there's a kind of pressure that I said this earlier that you face as a couple. Now, not individuals, as a couple, like when you're advising other couples, you're like a roadmap. They are trying to see what are they doing. If they are telling me this, I want to be sure they are doing it as well. So I want you to give us, are there pressures you face maritally as a pastor to other couples?
Not really. Simply because I have no point to prove. I just love the Lord, and that's it. You know, I'm not doing anything, you know, to win a badge of honor from anybody. No.
Wow.
You know, so if I'm your pastor and we're on the journey together, all right, and so I'm running my race. You know how when you are jogging or you are going for a walk and you meet people along the way, you can have a conversation. You get? I am on a walk. I'm on a walk. All right.
decision. I continue my journey. You continue your own. You know, I didn't leave my house with the hope that as I'm going on this walk, I will impress somebody along the way. No, I'm going on my walk so that I can be fit. You get it? So that it's my personal goal. So when I wake up in the morning, my desire is to please the Lord, and as much as lies within me, you know, to do the best I can. But I've never, you know, I've never had in mind of winning the best pastor of the year or whatever.
It's not, you know, it's not a competition to you.
So you know, this is me. There's nothing more. I mean, this is me, you know, and I make no pretense. I just love the Lord, and if you love Him, let's go. So it's you know, so I'm not under any pressure. You know, I haven't created you know, a personality I need to defend or live up to. No.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, sir. And Sister Yemiosha, I see you. Thank you, ma'am, for joining. Good afternoon.
Hello.
We need to hook up. That's for Sister Yemiosha. Yes, we need to hook up. Okay, Pastor Bridget. I want to ask you the same question, but I'm going to flip it. So, for women, I hate talking about this, but it's just the reality that we live in. There are some expectations that are placed on us, especially as the pastors of your pastor's wife. You know, so I want you to talk about, is there pressure for women, especially when you are relating with other couples as a pastor's wife?
The pressure is there. You are the one who decides. For me, I just made up my mind that I will not allow anybody pressure me. I'm living my life. I'm living my life authentic. You know, this is the life I'm living. So you don't. I'm not like Pastor said. I'm not waiting. I'm not living for anybody's approval. Okay? Because it's a trap. You know, when you begin to feel that pressure and feel you have to live up, you just begin to pretend. You know, and you are pretending. What's more important, is it the accolades of people or God? You know, so you pretend, and at the end of the day, you find that that's how we hear a lot of stories of pastors, the marriage has failed. You know, because there's a lot of pretense, trying to live up to the expectations of the congregation and all that. You know, it shouldn't be. If we have issues in our marriage, then we must resolve the issues. You know, the marriage should be healthy. You know, and my marriage being healthy is not because I want people outside, you know, to clap for me or anything. I need it because I'm also a child of God, just like the member of church, and we're all children of God. You know, just like some of us are appointed as pastors, but we're all children of God running our race. So as we are counseling that couple, it's also a learning point for me, because they are saying, no, I hope it's not also, you know, something that is affecting us. Let's look at it. So it even helps us, you know, to improve on ourselves. You know, so it's not, there's no pressure, except anybody who says they're feeling pressure, they are the ones who have accepted. You know, it's what you allow. You know, they are the ones who have decided to accept it, and you feel you want to, you know, it's almost like, you know, taking the place of God. You want to show you are perfect. Nobody is perfect. It's only God who is perfect, you know. So anybody who wants to prove to people that is perfect has put himself into, you know, it's like bondage, and you can never get out of it. So it's living your life, your authentic life, you know, living your life, being authentic, loving God, you know, and, you know, if you make your mistakes, you correct your errors, and you move on, you know, just like you're counseling others, God is helping you, you're also working on your own marriage. So it's just a journey. There's no pressure, except you decide to accept it, really.
All right, thank you both so much. So I really like what you said, but I was just thinking to myself while you were talking, and choose your pressure. You know, even if there will be pressure, it still needs to be your choice. Like the one you put on yourself is the hardest, not the one other person. Any other person is putting on you. So if this is for anyone that will watch this later and you're going through something like maybe it's a pastor's wife or whatever it is, it might actually be at work and you think people are expecting too much. It happens to me, don't let me lie. Especially when you're in this climb that you are expected to prove yourself more than the other person. So just choose your pressure. That's all I'll say. All right, thank you so much, ma'am. So I want to talk about, I think we've talked about this, the advice you will give recently. Okay. All right, let's talk about parenting as a pastor. So while I was growing up, okay, my late dad used to be a pastor. So there is this expectation that they placed on the pastor's kids. And there is this expectations where the parents too are put to the test to see how they are training their own children, or is it that they are just going to condemn my own child and not condemn their own child, or not complain about anything about their own children? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. It's not something that we face that's common here in the West, but back home in Nigeria, everybody is in your business, especially when it comes to correcting your children or talking to your children. So I want to talk about parenting as a pastor. What challenges what was it like for you?
Well, like I said, I don't know if it's the best, but most times I like to block out noise. I like to block out what people are saying or what they're not saying, and it has helped me a whole lot, because I also was a pastor's daughter. So I know the pressures and all that, and I just made up my mind, you know what, I'm not going to, my dad kept saying, don't embarrass me, don't disgrace me, don't embarrass me. So I said, at the point I said, is it about you or is it about God? The pressure is so much that we forget that we're all supposed to be living for the glory of God, not to give somebody a good name. And so I made up my mind that I'm not going to, you learn, from your parents, and you learn a lot, So I made up my mind I'm not going to allow anybody, force me to raise my children. I raise my children. If we raise our children, they feel the Lord wanted us to raise.
Okay, so they said they can't hear you clearly. Yeah, we are struggling to hear you.
Okay. What do we do now? Okay. So I was saying we raised our children the way we felt the Lord wanted us to. And then those things in our backgrounds that we did not like, we decided that we're not going to bring them in. You understand? Things that we knew that were pain points for us growing up, we decided we're not going to allow them to affect, to bring them in to raise our children. And so it was not about what people will say. For me, it's not about what people will say, but what is best for the children. We're not trying to impress people, Sometimes, the temptation is there. I won't deny that because, sometimes, most of them are girls. And the temptation is there, particularly with what they wear, and all that. And
their hairstyle, or what they are putting on makeup, or they are putting on one big book here.
And all that. But my own correcting them, for me, I tried as much as, even though it was tough. Sometimes you almost want to say, you're a pastor, so I should not do this. But no, because I find that when you do that, you make the children hate being a pastor's child. So if I'm correcting saying you should not be doing this because you are a child of God, not because they are pastor's children. And then of course, I have to give them some leeway. A child cannot be like one of my daughters told me, say, Mommy, my fashion sense is totally different from yours. She told me that. So what do? I cannot force them to wear what I wear, or behave exactly like me. They are different. So I have to allow them to express themselves. So even though some church people might not really like, say, how can a pastor's child do this? I close my ears to it. In fact, sometimes confront in my presence. I tell them, please, let them be. Of course, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't correct the child, but not on flimsy things like the color of the hair or one thing or the. If you see my child really misbehaving, then you can talk. But it's not to come and tell her this dress is too this or that. No. So I made them, of course, I made sure children know that they are confident enough to even respond, respect them. But also correcting them is not correcting them to impress church members, because they themselves, their souls are important. So if they are going off to pretend, what do we have? They are not Christians, So their souls are important. So we're raising them up to be children of God themselves, because they are our first congregation. Before we won't talk about this church. So we didn't want them to just a lot of children pretend. My daughter was telling me about a girl who, by the time she gets to the airport from school in Ghana, she gets to the airport, she goes to the bathroom, changes. That if you see her, you will not believe it's the same girl in school. We didn't want that. So whatever they're doing is, I want to see it in the house. I want to know you. I want to know your authentic self. So it's very important because a lot of pastors' children are under pressure. Pressure, because the pastor wants to impress the church members.
All right, thank you so much, ma. I was laughing within myself when you were talking because I get your daughters had it easy. my dad has 4 girls, and he was particular, and his baptism name, or what does it call it, is Philip, and he's always saying Philip in the Bible has 4 daughters. They were virgin. Philip in the Bible has 4 daughters. He was always hammering that into us every morning, and was there a revolution? Yes. Did we revolt? Yes, we did. And I remember there was a time, the first time, and it was Deeper Life. So you can imagine the first time I did braids, he let me, I did it for Christmas. I did it like 2 or 3 days before Christmas, right? He saw it, he didn't say anything. On my way, day before Christmas, the day he knew that thing would pain me so much was the day he cut that hair. Like, I was just going out of the door and he had scissors. He just put me back and just put scissors and how I cried that day. So when you were talking, I was thinking that, okay, they had it easy. But for there are some pastors' kids, even now, I was talking about maybe 30-something years ago. But even now, we still have pastors' kids that are going through this struggle. So, Pastor Dokolo, I want you to advise new pastors, young pastors that are still going through the parenting phase. So I want you to please talk to them.
We are still in that phase. We still have children, we have teenagers, we have a 9-year-old. So we are still actively parenting. If there's one word that I think encapsulates our philosophy, is authenticity. Right? So I encourage you as a pastor, a pastor's wife, be authentic. Bring up your children to know the Lord and to love the Lord. Like my wife said, right and wrong do not have different definitions because you're a pastor's daughter or a pastor's son. What is right is right. What is wrong is wrong. Our common what is common to all of us is God. And God does not have, first child, second child, third child. We're all children of God. All right? So if you're authentic and your children see you as authentic, they would love the Lord by themselves. All right? And they would serve Him by themselves. Okay? Now, also, if a child is brought up with love, that child will be bold. A lot of time, my children will come to me and say, Daddy, they met so-and-so person, and the person complained about whatever, their hair, their dress, their this, their that, and that, they were very nice and polite to the person. And I said, that's very good. That's all you need to do. Okay? Yeah. And so what has happened is that the children themselves value themselves. All right? So when you value yourself and you love the Lord, you will tend to do right 9 out of 10. Okay? And that's the experience that we have. So I would say to that couple, be authentic, truly love the Lord. There should be no pretense. All right? And like my wife said, if something is wrong, correct it because it is wrong, not because you are a pastor's child. Because after some time, the title pastor becomes an idol. Are you getting it? In other words, you are not really interested in the child. You're interested in your reputation. Yes. Yes. What will people say about me?
Yes.
No. Yeah. Yes. It's not about me. Because if you do that, the child.
But don't disgrace me, oh! Don't disgrace me, oh! I have a name. Don't disgrace me.
So rather than say don't disgrace me, it is don't disgrace God because He loves us. All right. So it's not me. And one of the things we taught our children very early is to recognize that it's their life. All right? It's their life, and by and large, you will reap what you sow. So don't even think about me per se. Think about you and God and all that He has done for us, and then ask yourself, would this be the ideal way to say thank you to the Lord? So the child, and so what happens is that the children are more intelligent, all right? They are wiser, and they tend to take better decisions. I mean, to this point, to the glory of God, our 4 daughters, we are proud of them. All right? And in fact, they quarrel with me a lot that you send them to university. You know, it's like I take them to school at the beginning. The next time I go is when they are graduating. In between, it's so-called, and they're on their own. Are you getting it? And they've done that well. Yeah. So you know, that means whatever it is that we did or are doing is working, because the children have turned out well to the glory of God. So.
All right, thank you, sir. I have a question. A question came in, but then I'm going to read that out. But I have you said something about raising authentic children, and they can come talk to you and ask you questions. Now, in my own household, when I was growing up, one thing in the 80s actually was my dad was very approachable. We challenged my father. Let me put it that way. We could challenge him, like when he preaches about something and then he comes home and he's not doing it, we stand up to him. And we were called sports, because you know in the 80s when your parents say something, you take it on the chin, you don't question anything, you keep it moving. But in our own household, we could stand up to my dad, especially my mom was more of the call Soldier, but my dad left that room open for us to talk and challenge him and question him and do all that. Now, is that something that you think, because I am thinking that then, when we being disrespectful, there was a point where we were, yes. That there was actually an incident that I remember that I actually stood up to my dad and I was like, no, you can't go to heaven with that, you can't do that. And I was, and after that, I somehow stopped going to church. So, do you think that is something that should be encouraged in parenting? Should you, I don't know, I know it's usually a thin line between disrespect and voicing out your opinion or not agreeing with what your parents, what they are doing. So is that something that should be encouraged?
I don't know how, but we seem to have found a decent balance between respect and being assertive. All right? Because from a young age, the children have been given a sense of responsibility. So for example, even the little boy now, I reason with him. Do you understand? So, you know, and so our children, it's not so much as talking back, but they're not afraid. You know, they can express their opinion contrary to us. Primarily because, you know, if you are dictatorial, it means, you know, I mean, it means you've missed it somewhere. All right. If I have to stamp my foot and say I'm the head of this home, then I've missed it. You get it? So in our own home, we do a lot of, you know, decisions are made collaboratively. You know, we discuss. You get it? So, you know, why do you want to do this? You bring forth your strong arguments, all right? And you state your case, you defend yourself. I mean, even us now, there are things we want to do, you know, we call them in, depending on age. And we say, listen, we are thinking of this, and they will query us, we'll respond back. Sometimes we adjust, sometimes, you know. So the way we have brought up our children, I've never felt disrespected by any of them. So they disagree with us. My children disagree with me. They, you know, they can express their opinion. I mean, each child is studying what each of them wanted to study. All right? And so, you know, I mean, I didn't force anybody. We didn't force anybody. You must read this or you must read that. No. All I say is, why do you want to go in this direction? Are you getting it? I mean, just recently, you know, one of them is in the process of taking a decision, and all I tried to do was to show the pros and cons of the two positions. You know, I saying to her just yesterday, I said, listen, you are the one that has to live with your decision. All right? So this is what I think of this. This is what I think of that. So it's your call. All right? So, and the truth is, in today's world, I tell them in church, every parent must go and learn how to negotiate. The days of issuing decrees is over. Because what made you able to issue decrees was information that only you had access to. Because of the internet today, there's no secrets.
Yeah.
All right. And today, children are being economically empowered, even while they are still in secondary school. If you learn coding, you can start making money from SS3. So they have money, they have information. So if you haven't earned their respect, then you're in trouble. So really, anybody who is still shouting or screaming, or you have lost the what do you call it? You lost the plot even before the show starts. All right. So I think that's the way I put that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So I don't want people to misconstrue what I just said about my dad. My dad was very approachable, and then even though we stand up to him, he doesn't listen immediately, but then after he calls and apologizes. That my dad was the only one I know in the 80s that apologizes to his kids. He calls and he will apologize and just pull you in for a hug and tell you he's sorry. So I hope let me just let it go, because there's a lot running through my head when it comes to pastoring advice for a pastor's kid. So let me read this question. Is it right for a man to report his wife to her parents or his own parents? Pastor Bridget, do you want to take that before Pastor Edokpolo?
Well, I didn't have that experience. Well, for the 1 or 2 years my mother-in-law was alive after our wedding, before she passed on, we didn't have that experience. We didn't have to report. So I'm not going to say it's wrong. It depends on the peculiar situation. Reporting to your mother, what do you want to achieve? Because I know of some people who, as soon as the son brings a wife to the house, the mother is more or less almost closer to the daughter-in-law than to her son. Of course, with that kind of relationship, the son reporting his wife to the mom is not like a betrayal. It's almost like talk to your daughter. So some situations like that. So it depends on the peculiar situation. But generally, it's not something that is ideal. It's not ideal. Except she's the mentor that both of you have, which is almost important. So if you have issues, it's better to speak to a mentor, because most times, because the person is your mother, there's already a bias. So what do you want to achieve? What do you want to make happy? And I found that for spouses, when you report your spouse to your family, your direct family, even after you have forgiven them, they will keep remembering that. Keep remembering it. So why do you want to make the relationship mess up the relationship? So it's not ideal. It's not ideal, because the woman herself is not still sure of the daughter. That managing the relationship and then go ahead and then you report her to make her look worse before the woman. It's only damage the relationship more. So instead, you should be trying to shield your wife and build the relationship, especially if it's not that good. Except, of course, in those peculiar circumstances that I said, maybe the woman has already taken the girl as her daughter. Then you can report, and then it shouldn't be an everyday thing, because you are adults. So you should be able to, communicate and resolve your issues, between yourselves. And ideally, if you want to go out, it's better to go to somebody who is trained to counsel, so that you can get the right counsel. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Pastor Edokpolo, what can we hear your own perspective about that question?
I agree with her. The answer is not yes or no. The answer is it depends. It depends what is at stake. All right? Because if we say don't report, you may die. All right. If we say report, you may ruin the marriage. So I think it has to do with, what is at stake, what is happening. Unfortunately, not everybody who gets married is ready for marriage. A lot of children are getting married, Yes, you have finished school, you have a PhD, you have a master's, but you're still very immature. Every little thing you have to mommy, that kind of thing. So, so I would say that, I would say that your parents should not be your first port of call when there's an issue. You know what I mean? Yes. Find somebody else. Find a neutral person, the pastor, a senior person, or even friends that you are familiar with. But don't run home when there's a problem initially. But I mean, if life is at risk or at stake, then of course, everything changes. So I would say it depends. That's the truth. It really depends. It depends on what is at stake. But generally speaking, it's not a wise thing to run home at the first sign of the problem. Mommy, my husband did not drink my water. Boom, you've gone home. Mommy, my wife didn't greet me well. Boom, you've gone to report. That's immature.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. There is another question came in. Since we have pastors in the building, I want to ask them, why must pastors get involved in marriages in church? I believe my pastor is destroying my own. Thoughts, please.
I mean, if your pastor does not get involved in marriage, what will he get involved in? Assumption here
there should be more to that question that the person is not sharing, because
assumption here is that the pastor himself or herself is matured enough to handle issues. All right, because ordinarily speaking, a pastor's intervention in your marriage is supposed to be an attempt to make things work, to make it better. Okay. So, I mean, therefore, if his intervention is now yielding a negative result, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. Even as a pastor, you need to know when to back off.
Yeah.
You need to know when, a relationship is in a place where even you can't help them. So you just back off. All right? Even though, as a pastor, sometimes we have this Superman mentality. There's a problem, I'll just fly there and solve it. Jesus Christ did not heal everybody who was sick in his time. He didn't raise everybody that died in his time, right? So what happened was that he was sensitive to the Father. So as I see my Father do, so I do. So as he's going, his Father says, the guy called blind Bartimaeus, I want to heal him. Do you get? He said, but Lord, how about blind Joey? God says, no, I don't have any interest in blind Joey. It's blind Bartimaeus I want to heal. So Christ will walk past blind Joey. He don't touch him. Do you get? He gets to blind Bartimaeus, miracle takes place. He continues on his journey, and then the Lord says, there's a woman here with an issue of blood. He said, but Lord, there are many women. He said, no, that woman is the only one I'm interested in. So Christ says, okay, fine. Woman, you are healed. In the same way also as a pastor, you've got to know when to back off so you don't get too sucked in. All right? So that you don't become the issues. You understand? Pastor said this, pastor didn't say that. It's not a lie. Pastor told me this, he didn't tell me that. It gets messy. So sometimes just back off. I don't counsel people if you tell me that your husband cannot come, or your wife cannot come, or your husband does not fear anybody, or your wife does not respect anybody. It's a waste of time. Yes. As I'm here now, my wife has a long list of names she can call, and I will behave myself. When I ask you and say, who does your husband respect, and you cannot answer me, it's a waste of my time. So you are not the savior, all right? It's not you that died on the cross. So you got to be
on the cross.
So you got to be mindful that you don't take on, issues that God has not called you to take on. All right.
right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Auntie Bola, yeah, I see you. I see you all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know you're busy at work. It means a lot that you took time off. Bimach, thank you. I see you both. Thank you. Those are my sisters. So
okay.
Thank you. Pastor Bridget, I want to ask you about your eyes for marriage. We should be rounding this up, I think. Yeah, our time is almost up. Your eyes for marriage. Since you know, like I said at the beginning, I said there are a lot of negative narratives in marriage that you will see some young folks saying, oh, do I even want to marry? Why is there any reason for me to get married and all that? And in all honesty, there was a time, in fact, in not too long ago, I was having a conversation with my friend, and I told my friend that honestly, I think I'm just not keen on it anymore. So, if you're going to talk to someone that is saying that I don't think marriage is that big of a deal, I don't even think I want to do it, what would you tell the person? Like, using yourself as an example. Basically, what are you enjoying about marriage that you can tell someone that, okay, well, these are the benefits of you being married?
Well, the most important thing for me is that I'm not alone. You know, we have friends. We have, you know, you can have friends. You have siblings. You have nieces, uncles, aunties. But your wife or your husband is your wife or husband, especially if your relationship is good. You know, there's that companionship. That's the fact that you are not alone. You know, you are not lonely. You know, you are not, because I know that people who are married who are lonely, but you can be married and not lonely. You know, you have somebody. You know, you have an ally. You have somebody. I have somebody I can pray with. I can share with. You know, I can be myself with. You know, I don't have to. For somebody like me now, I really don't have. I don't really have many friends in that. I'm not a friends person. So the fact that my husband is my friend is enough for me most times. You know, so it's and it's something that, you know, nobody can do life alone. You know, you need somebody. That's the truth. You need somebody. You know, someone that can someone that can bring a different opinion, you know, concerning things. You know, and you arrive at a better conclusion. You know, and of course, you are blessed with children. That's another, you know, blessing of marriage. You know, your family is grown. You have people you can depend on that are yours. You know, really. You know, of course, they go off and get married, but they're still your children. They're still part of your family. You know, so companionship. You know, growing together. You know, share somebody to share your victories with. You know, somebody to share your wins. Somebody to even cry with. You know, and the person will not go outside and say, this is what happened. You know, it's your person. You know, it's you can't I don't know. You can't put a price on that really. So marriage is still, for those who feel that, or because of the negative things you've heard and all that, that marriage is not, you know, it might not be all that. It is all that. It is and more. It is and more. It's just to make sure, you know, if you do it right, then you will enjoy it. That's the truth. It's to make sure that you do it right. You know, that's the crux of it. If you do it right, then you will enjoy your marriage. So marriage is good. Marriage is a wonderful experience. The journey, you know, it also matures you. You know, helps you to, for me, you know, has helped me to be able to relate better. You know, helped me to be able to, you know, those things, drop some of those things that, you know, will not mature. Yeah, that's the word. To mature. So it helps you to mature because you're not just living for yourself. It also helps you to be less selfish. You know, because you're not just living for yourself now. You have somebody else to consider. So marriage is great. It is really. It is.
All right.
Getting it right. Once it's right, then and both of you are willing. Because if you are not willing, then that's another issue. Yeah. You know, if one person goes and feels that if it doesn't work out, I'm out, then it might not work. But if both parties are willing, then marriage is wonderful. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. So Pastor Narua, you too, I want to ask you for someone that's like me that doesn't want to be bothered about it anymore. That it's just personally, I think for me, I'm just so comfortable in my space now. I'm just so comfortable with me, and I think it goes back to what Auntie Bola, I see that your thank you, I know where that your thank you is coming from. I know where that your thank you is coming from. Anyway, I just don't want to. You just feel like it goes back to the selfishness that you talked about. because I think that I'm at that space now where I don't think I want to share my time. I want to share my attention. I want to share my space. I don't know if that makes sense. So, Pastor Dokolo, I'm asking you for, yes, sir.
You know, life is in seasons.
Mm-hmm.
When you are in summer, if you go to America for the first time in summer, you won't believe that that's in America. A time will come when you have 10 shirts on and you still be cold.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, you are going to tell yourself, "Come on, what are you guys talking about? I mean, I'm taking a swim. The weather is wonderful. It's just like Lagos. I mean, what are you telling me? When we're talking in January, you were describing, you were lying. Is that not so? Because the guy has come to America in summer, and when he spoke to you, you were describing America in January. Okay? But if he stays long enough in America, what's going to happen? He will experience the winter.
Yeah.
And that's not life. So right now, you may be in a place where, I mean, let's face it, you can do everything for yourself, I mean, you can afford it. You have a car, you have a house, I mean, what do you need the money for? But it's summer. Winter will come. Winter will come. So that's the way to look at it. Winter will come, and so to decide that you know America because you spent 3 months in summer, you don't know America yet. Wait until you experience winter, spring, autumn, and do that circle a couple of times, and then you cannot come and talk about America. So it's like that. Don't take a decision about your wardrobe only in summer, because winter is coming when none of those clothes will be appropriate. Do you get? Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. So we're going to round up. I think our time is up. Oh yeah, our time is up. So I don't know why my sisters are on this thing, honestly. Anyway, thank you both so much. So Pastor Dokolo, I just want to let me go to Pastor Bridget first. Just give us your final thoughts. Is that Pastor Wale Adenuga? All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes. Okay, Pastor Dokolo, Pastor Bridget, sorry. Just give us your final thoughts on everything we've been talking about on marriage. If you're going to advise a single person or a young pastor's wife, just summarize everything and give us your final thoughts.
Well, I would say, first of all, we are children of God. Make sure that your relationship with God remains strong. Through all this we're talking about, where all this is based on the premise that we're children of God. I'm born again, I'm a child of God, I have a relationship. So let's keep our relationship with the Lord up. And for those who, the pastor's wife, who is wondering how will I navigate, God, he said, if you lack wisdom, ask me. So God, at the end of the day, we need to go back to God, to get wisdom, to know how to navigate. He cannot see us. He says, who will ask for fish? Will your child ask you for fish and give him a stone? How much more I? So if we go to him, he has all the wisdom, all the information that we need. Let's not allow the pressures around us, to make us do the things that we shouldn't do. Let's not allow pressure from men, human beings, even people in church, to make us do the things that we shouldn't do. We should live our lives for God. We're living for him. He is the one, is the ultimate, not the people around us. So we're not supposed to be living to please people, but to please him. If we do that, then it makes things easier. That pressure that we seem to all feel, there's pressure here and there, it won't be as much. Of course, it might be there, but it won't be as much. And then for those who are single, you can still make the right choice in marriage. The Spirit of God is still there to help us. He helps us. God doesn't want us. He doesn't delight in error. He wants us to live a good life. He wants us to live a fulfilled life. So if we go to him and ask him, he will lead us. You might not have a vision saying, hey, this is your husband. Hey, no. But somehow he will help you. He will, through the things that happen, you'll be able to discover that this is your spouse. And then if you are getting married, make sure that you are going into it, for the long haul. Don't go in with a plan that if there's any issue, I can always take a walk. I don't have. If you do that, then issues will surely come so that you can take a walk. And that's not the plan of God. So when you go into marriage, go all in, and the Lord will help you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Well said. Okay, yes, sir. Pastor Dokolo.
Okay, Odu, if you don't mind, I'd like to invite yourself and your listeners to check my YouTube page. It's called A Word in Season. I have some interesting messages I think will, I have a message on how to choose a marriage partner. I have a message on a second marriage, all right, how to get it right, second attempt at marriage. I have a message on how to move on after a broken relationship or a broken heart. A few more things there. But I think that, there's a lot of material there that would help people. It's at A Word in Season _ or just type A Word in Season and you'll find me. I want to speak as we round up to those people who, for whatever reason, are contemplating, closing the chapter on marriage. I want you to rethink that. God said it is not good that a man should be alone. Unless you have been, called to the ministry of the eunuch. All right? The Bible says some were made eunuch by choice, some were made eunuch by men, some were made eunuch, by birth. If that's not your calling, please don't allow, the challenges of the past or what you've heard make you run away from what God said is good. Okay? God said this man should not be alone. Therefore, marriage is good. Okay? If you follow the path of the Lord, you will find the will of God and you will enjoy marriage. We'll be 30 years next year, April next year. And in those 30 years, I have no regrets whatsoever. All right? And have we had our challenges? Yes, we have. But hey, if you put everything together, it's on the plus side, positive. So please don't run away from something that God himself says is good for you. All right? Don't be afraid. And if you are passing through a rough patch, seek for help. We have mentors. All right? I mean, there are people we go to and we discuss issues with, and they counsel us, and they advise us. So I mean, to have a mentor is perfectly okay. All right? And so seek for help if you have challenges, but don't close the chapter on something that God himself has declared to be very good. Odu, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm coming for your wedding in Jesus' name.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor Bridget. Amen. And hold on. I want to type your YouTube address on here because someone just said they're following you. So you said it's at
A Word in Season _ That's the YouTube name. At the @ A Word in Season as one word, then _.
A Word in Season _
Yeah.
Stop.
Or even if you just type a Word in Season, you will see my picture and then you can just take it from there.
Okay, so A Word in Season _
Yeah,
I hope that's right.
Just
okay, so for those that asked, I just Esther Queen, if you can put that up, you can put that underneath this video when we post it. She does that. So please, Esther Queen, take note of that and please put it up so that they can see. I tried sending it on here, but it's not going through. So thank you both so much. I am so super proud to call you mine, my daddy and my money.
Thank you.
God bless you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate my love to IK. I know he's the only one left back at home with you guys now. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Then. Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining. Thank you for tuning in today. God bless each and every one of you. I appreciate the time you spent with us today. And until the next time, okay, they are gone. So thank you once again Thank you to everybody. I might not mention your name, but I see you and God sees you. And I appreciate you so, so, so much. God bless you. Until the next time I come your way, my name is still Odunola Akerele. I'm a woman. I am a mother. I am a girl. And I am a woman. I'm someone else's daughter. I'll see you again next time.